Hey guys, we are Jamin and Ashley Mills from The Handmade Home, and we are back with another edition of Coffee Talk. Choo! Every time. We're here today because we're talking a little bit about basements and the frequently asked questions that come with redoing them.
Yeah, so we always get questions about it, especially where we live in Middle Tennessee, because there's tons of basements around, and we know a lot of our readers who have these same problems and just kind of wondering, what can I do with my basement, and is it worth doing anything with my basement?
Yes, there are so many questions. So the first one is, what do I need to consider when it comes to my basement redo? What on earth do I need to think about?
Yeah, that's a broad question, right?
I know, and so we broke it down a little bit because there are a few things that we think you should think about.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I think that everyone will probably encounter is support. And what we mean by that is you're gonna have walls already existing, or most likely poles that are existing
The
already.
poles, dun dun dun.
And those always seem to, that was a nice sound effect, by the way.
Thank you, thank you.
Those always seem to throw people for a loop, and they don't know what to do with them because they don't want this ugly pole in the middle of a finished space, and so they just get paralyzed and don't do a thing with it because they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So what would you say you do with it?
Leave it there and let your kids climb on it.
Wrong answer.
I actually had one growing
We're
up in
not
like
looking
this,
for dollar bills
this
today.
fabulous 80s basement that had the classic drop down ceiling, and it was great, and we loved it as kids because we would throw things against the ceiling and then we'd crawl up the pole, and it was amazing.
Yeah, terrible design, not to mention a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Either way, it was fun for us kids.
Right.
So
let's go
other
for a
than
correct
that-
answer. Let's try again.
I think that
Ashley.
with your poles, you really try to reconfigure your space and think about, first of all, your needs for the space, how those needs can be met, and then how those do work in with the pole. And a lot of times that's where we come in with clients, because we're able to reconfigure that space for them and help them think through, do you want a bedroom here? Do you want a bath? Or is there a way that we can do this wall that is hidden within it? That would be our first suggestion.
Yeah, I think it's an idea of starting to try to think of your pole like a 2x4. And you know, you've got to have 2x4s in your wall, so how can I turn that pole into a 2x4 that's going to be encased in a wall so that it appears as though it's just not even there, that it's a non-existent kind of thing?
And then the second option, so we did that in our basement where you see the double barn doors that open up, because it was a great way to make a segue from my small studio, which is an office, and then our laundry area, apart from the kids' movie area and our family gathering room. The second option would be, and I'll let you go.
Well, it would be just to try to turn it into something a little bit more decorative. And you can do that by just trimming it out with some wood or some MDF and putting some molding around it and just making it part of the room. And there's numerous ways to do that, and all kind of depends, but just starting to think outside the box and trying to incorporate in the design instead of being as Ashley apparently had as a child, a stripper pole.
Wow, that's not what we had as children. That was not what it was, but we'll let you have that one today. Okay. Also, I think a lot of people's questions, they're like, well, can't we just get rid of those poles? People ask that all the time.
Right.
Can we just knock those out? Because I was wondering that about
and
our
that would
own
be
basement.
terrible idea number 2 of the day. So
Why? Why would that be a terrible idea, James?
Because
your kids won't have any fun.
Well, and someone will die probably.
That was
because
morbid.
those yeah, they went from stripping pole to dying. So those poles are basically there to support the house, the upper levels above them. And so if you take those out, generally the house above it will fall on top of you. I mean, there might be a time it doesn't happen, but generally speaking,
so what's an alternative for that?
Alternative for that, if you want to remove poles altogether, you can put in what's called an LVL beam, which is an engineered beam that is designed, or sometimes they even use steel, but it's designed to span long distances.
Now, we did that in our upper level, the
Right.
space that you see behind us. We knocked out 4 rooms and made it 1.
And the challenge there generally is that you have to have about 12 inches of space to do it. So depending on what your your joists are, is whether or not you might have some sticking down, which you might have to encase, which would bring up another point I think people have about their design, and that would be HVAC. You know, and what I do with these ugly ductwork that's running down there.
That's the second biggest debacle people have with their basements, because either their ceilings are a little bit low and they're really, impeded by that large, bulky mass kind of in the middle, and that's where great design comes in, because it's really important to consider.
Yeah, and so you might be able to just encase those together and give it a kind of smooth, clean, boxed out feeling as though it's a part of the space. There's lots of little things to do that, but the general, I think, idea we want to convey is that finishing off the basement, it can be done. It's not terribly difficult. and you can make it very pretty if you just spend a little time thinking through it.
Yeah. What's something else you'd say to consider other than the poles and the LVL beams and the support and the main eyesores that get in the way?
I think you have stuff like doors and windows you have to contend with. You need to add a window because you got a bedroom, you want light in there. Obviously, if you have an old door that was an exit door that you want to cover up,
yeah,
you have brick over.
You can reconfigure that. It's all fair game once you get started.
Right, yeah, so all of those things can be, you can knock out a new window, you can cover up a window, cover up a door, add a door, all those things are possible to do, so you just have to remember that's all something that can be done or added to. Even garage doors, you can make those look like they never existed, which is something we did on our own house.
And I would say from a safety standpoint too, if you're planning to do a bedroom in your basement, a window really would be great, just because my mind goes as a mother to fire hazards and things that can be prevented to help that.
Yeah, so it is something always to consider. What is an exit point in case of an emergency?
Yeah, so those weird wall shapes can be a challenge, holes in LVL beams can be a challenge, windows can be a challenge, and it's just really about sitting down and thinking through your plan in a smart way and considering how it all meets your needs for the space and what's a great cohesive design to really bring it all together.
Yeah, and so, just do that homework, get with someone like us who can help you with design and figure it out.
Ding ding!
Ding ding.
That's our sparkles coming off our teeth.
And just consider that space and know that it's possible and you can have an incredibly beautiful space that used to be incredibly ugly. And it's actually pretty possible, which would bring us to the next question. Will it count as square footage for my house?
Yeah, the biggest question people have when it comes to redoing their basement is, will it double my house value? Will it bring money to the table if I'm putting money back into it? And there's a game that you play with doing houses and what makes it valuable for you and your time.
Yeah, because you don't want to spend money on doing something and actually decrease the square footage value of your house.
That would be a super bummer.
It would be.
So the answer would be yes, but you'll need to add HVAC for it to count. A lot of people are like, well, we can finish it off, but let's just add space heaters down there. First of all, we wouldn't say that's very safe to do because you want it done correctly.
Right.
And secondly, they will not count it as square footage unless your HVAC has been properly run and installed and incorporated into the existing home.
Yeah, and you want to add it on the front end, not the back end. It's way more expensive to add on the back end. But just to give you an idea of how it would add square footage value to your house, to think about, most houses get 50 to 60% value off of whatever your main level value is. So say you had a 1,300 square foot basement you wanted to finish off. Your main value house is at $175 a square foot. You would then multiply that by 55%, which would give you 96.25 per square foot. So for every square foot of your basement, it would be worth $96.25, which would then give you an added value, say if that 1,300, and I'm going off numbers here in Nashville.
I was going to say, is this locally? Because people are going to be like,
it'll be different wherever you are, but so this is Nashville numbers. So the renovation costs you $80,000. You're getting $96.25 per square foot, which equates to about $125,000, which there is a net value of $45,000. So just by finishing off that space, you made $45,000, if that makes sense.
You might have to rewind that and listen to it again. My eyes have already glazed over because math. I hate math, and that's why I have you.
So think about 50 to 60%, whatever the value of your main level is, what you'll get on your basement. So multiply that times a square foot, and then take out the cost of the renovation. In this example, you gained $45,000, which I would say well worth doing.
Yes, and it's different based on where you live.
Yeah.
It'll be different for everyone. Every home is different. That's why we recommend calling in someone like us to help you with that. And it's just a part of the process, but it is worth considering because you do want to see that money back and added value.
Yeah, and talk to a local realtor. They can kind of give you those values and help you out there.
Next question
is how to prep your space if you're going to do this renovation.
What would you recommend that we do? Get rid of all the spiders.
Well, what was the biggest issue we had?
There was a clown in the crawl space.
Okay, other than the weird things you made up, what was a real issue we had?
Are we allowed to talk about this?
Sure.
Okay. So we had water in our basement.
Yes, so simply who we bought the house from had done a very patchwork job with a lot of the drainage.
As is the case with a lot of old houses that you buy. You don't know, it's like Frankenstein. Like you don't know who it's been through and what they've done to the home.
Yeah, so the previous owners had not kind of tied everything off perfectly, and some things have been removed that shouldn't be removed. So we had a couple entry points of water that we found. So we had to make sure that the outside grading was how we wanted to.
We weren't swimming around in it or anything.
No.
But it's an issue with a lot of basements in this area.
Yeah. And so the first thing we tell you to do is kind of check your outside grading, make sure your downspouts are running where they're supposed to, water's kind of flowing away from the house, would be the first thing I would say. Second from there is waterproof the inside of your house, because you don't want to go to the expense of digging up all around your house unless you have to, but you can waterproof from the inside of your house.
And we did some of that.
Yeah.
If you have a crawl space.
Yeah, so, well, waterproof with a dry lock on the cinder block or whatever. And then, of course, if you have a crawl space that's going to be feeding into it, just kind of make sure you have a sump pump in there, a dehumidifier. And then when you go to start the renovation, instead of using just a traditional insulation, I recommend using foam. Simply because foam is anti-mildew resistant. So if you get any kind of moisture, it's not going to grow on that foam. Whereas opposed
so it's mildew resistant, it's not anti-mildew resistant.
Yeah, leave me alone, not enough coffee. It will prevent mildew from growing.
Just to make sure we're being clear.
and that helps tremendously as opposed to traditional batten insulation, which will absorb water and mildew will grow like crazy on. So those are kind of be the three things.
Live there for a while. Decide what you need from your space. You know, we were inhibited because of codes and our own personal experience, and we're so glad we did because we learned what we wanted the most from the space. Our plans changed, and we learned that it had water issues, and it's good to know because you take care of those problems before rather than later. And it was a pretty chunk of change that came out of our pockets, but it was done correctly, and we're happy for that.
Yeah, and once you deal with those issues, you're pretty much home free. And you know, we don't have any issues. Our crawl space is dry as can be, and we have no water issues. And so just if you do that few things up front, you should be good to go with prepping it, and then you're ready to start putting down lumber and drywall and all the fun things.
Yeah, so those are all the technical things that we would recommend before things get pretty. And we highly recommend it. It's been a great game changer for our family as well as our clients.
It has. And so overall, I would say do the basement. You'll enjoy it. It'll be a great place for your family. And we hope we have answered a few questions for you. And if you've got any specific ones, please send them in. Until the next time on Coffee Chat.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for stopping by. I did a ching.